Now we're at part 3, because I had caffeine today, and that was explained a little bit in part 2, which I'm still trying to get out of this tangled thing about today's reading. Finding solace for confusion by using a power greater than yourself in an inventory. Here's the part that I missed a bit just at the ending of part 2, is that by accepting the fellow members of Alcoholics Anonymous, or really anybody that's getting results that you like, maybe it's your sewing circle, maybe it's your book club, I don't know what, but if they're not just drowning themselves in drugs and alcohol to get over things, and they're actively trying to better themselves by looking at their lives, finding a defect that is a problem, and then they decide, maybe I can fix that problem, I'll go looking for help, and then they find some help, and then, an important thing, they actually follow that advice, they do some action, they actually take the advice and use it, try to apply it, and their lives change. This brings me to this thing where if a power greater than yourself, and you don't know who or what that could be, and you get to AA, or your sewing circle, or your book club, or whatever, and you see a bunch of humans in a room gathered, and they're not fighting, well, maybe they are fighting, but they're not, well, anyways, you like the results they're getting, would be the end point here. And they're not doing it by just shutting themselves down by using alcohol. I'm trying to get a little simple here. So you decide to take the advice that they're offering freely. And it works for you. So you decide that might be the way I'm going to keep going at this thing. And then you continue to take a personal inventory. Let me just read it right from the book. This book, The Daily Reflections. I'll read the whole story again, too, in a moment. Because of the caffeine. Let's blame caffeine for everything. Continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. I brought up all this stuff in part 2, that you got pride, you got ego, or humility, or whatever, those 3 things. Pride versus humility all the time. And your ego is fighting for the pride, because the ego thinks you're going to be shut down, turned off, you're not enough for this, you need to be bigger, better, all this stuff. And it doesn't have any evidence to the contrary, because it's been listening to a bunch of crap, good or bad, and it doesn't have an editor, it doesn't try and discriminate, it just accepts everything as truth. Your subconscious is like that. Maybe, I don't know how all that consciousness, subconscious, unconscious, whatever, your inner voice can be the loudest in the room. Let's put it that way. Regardless of what the evidence is saying. So how do you get over things like that? And I suggested this thing, power greater than yourself. The fellow members trying to recuperate from alcohol, untreated until then, alcoholism, because their life is a disaster. And then, now here's the key part that I left out, or what I feel is fairly important. Because you've decided to humbly continue going to AA, but maybe you didn't quit drinking either, but you keep going, and maybe even when you're drunk or hungover or whatever. And then these people, they don't kick you out, because the only requirement is a desire to get sober, or be what. Let me read that right from the 3rd tradition. Where's the book? Hope I don't forget what I'm talking about. The only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. Didn't say that you had to quit or nothing, just the desire to change. Now this kind of fits in with the step 10 thing. You take a look, it's a wreck, you want to fix it. It's a desire to change. Maybe if I stop drinking, that might affect it. But I'm not quite ready to do that yet, or whatever. And all that. And then they start trying to cram this step 2 in. Power greater than yourself can restore you to sanity. And then step 3, you turn your will and your life over to the care of this thing that you don't understand or are angry with, because you understand it in that way. as you understand him, the thing. What is it? And now I've been trying to suggest that in accordance with the big book, they suggest using the group as your power greater than yourself. You could at least you follow that advice and maybe things change for the better in your life. Maybe you should keep doing that. Step 10, continue to take this inventory, and when you're wrong, promptly admit it. And everybody goes home hugging and smiling, and just yay for peace. Let me read today's story, which I'm still Richard. This is part 3 of the October 20th of 2025's reading, the Daily Reflections book, October 20, Solace for Confusion. Obviously, the dilemmas of the wanderer from faith is that of profound confusion. He thinks himself lost to the comfort of any conviction at all. He cannot attain in even a small degree the assurance of the believer, the agnostic, or the atheist. He is the bewildered one. That's from the 12 Steps, the 12 Traditions book, page 28, which that's page 25, step 2 begins. Came to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Now, the story here today, the concept of God was one that I struggled with during my early years of sobriety. The images that came to me, conjured from my past, were heavy with fear, rejection, and condemnation. Then I heard my friend, I'm going to change this guy's name to Ted. Then I heard my friend Ted's image of a higher power. As a boy, he had been allowed a litter of puppies, many puppies, I'll say, provided that he assume responsibility for their care. Each morning he would find the unavoidable byproducts of the puppies on the kitchen floor. Poop and urine. Unavoidable. Despite frustration, Ted said he couldn't get angry because that's the nature of puppies. It's just a biological function. The puppy did okay. Caffeine. Ted felt that God viewed our defects and shortcomings with a similar understanding and warmth. I've often found solace from my personal confusion in Ted's calming concept of God. Okay, so I want to change some words here. I've often found help, agreement, understanding in my confusion about a power greater than myself in Ted's calming explanation of it, that we're just humans and we're screwing up, and that's just what humans do, and a lot of times that's because of pride. So we decide to try and get humble a little bit by accepting new things or whatever, by setting our guard down, by accepting vulnerability and accepting that this might hurt, and accepting that, you know, these circumstances maybe weren't primarily designed to hurt me. It's just the result of a lot of evil on that side, because they happen to anyhow. Now, the part I still haven't got to, is that the step 10 inventory. We look at our mistakes, we decide that we want to try and fix them promptly. We decide a power greater than ourselves might be helpful. Then we turn our life and will over to that, and we accept that this power greater can fix. We're going to AA, we don't believe it, we're still drinking, but these people's story is compelling, and you hear the things that they did, and they're lining up perfectly with your past. It's like, I did that. Wow, that's me too. That I remember that. That just, are you sure I wasn't there? When you're hearing these people's stories, their testimony, they say what a wreck they were, and it's just talk about frustration and disbelief, and how could this be the same person? that's telling me these things. Wow, how did that happen? Well, you get back to the pride and the humility and a continued inventory and the willingness to fix these mistakes that we keep making. That's the nature of human beings. It's part of the nature of human beings. We trial and error. We don't have any, we just jump into it. It hurts. And hopefully, if it hurts, we stop doing it and we take a moment to reflect and wonder, why did that hurt? And then we maybe go searching for evidence, find out that everybody that did that got hurt. Maybe it's obviously, or whatever, it's going to happen to me. I don't want to do that. I'm going to quit that behavior. I'm going to try something different. And we do. And then it works. And we try it again. And it keeps working. So that's sort of my explanation of for some reason in your mind, maybe, you figured out that you're an alcoholic or you're not. Let's just, for the sake of this argument, you decide that maybe you're leaning towards being an alcoholic. And how do you fix it? Because you want to fix it because you're a bright person on the inside. You don't want to hurt anything any longer. And it keeps happening anyways. And it will happen. And no matter what you intend to do, sometimes that hurts. Either you or that. Anyways. So we just look at the other people in this room. Their story lines up with mine. The past, I've looked at myself. These people are telling me, that every one of them sounds like me. I've done every one of those things, these people. And then I come back in a week, the next week after week after week. I keep hearing even different people saying the same thing. And the common thing there is that they're alcoholics trying to get fixed. Just trying to get fixed, period. Maybe with an exclamation point, because it's like, wow, this person has changed. They want to fix themselves somehow. And they're showing a humility I've never experienced or seen, or, how could I have that? And so you decide to accept the knowledge obtained in the meeting, that just the group consensus that alcoholism is going to kill you, whatever, and maybe you should quit running red lights or whatever it is. You should quit drinking whiskey and switch to vodka. I don't know, man, but it's like the results are better than the ones you are currently getting, and you want to change in a way, and these people seem to have something you don't have, and you just decide to let that one slip into your unconscious, your subliminal, your belief system. And this maybe, well, it's comforting. Solace for confusion. Because now you did this thing in step 3. You made a decision now. I'm just going to listen to these people and then judge and criticize later. But I'm going to listen today. And you hear all this stuff. It lines up with your past, your history, likely your future. And you don't want to do that. You want to fix that. You want to correct that. You don't want to endure that type of pain any longer. You don't want to make that same mistake again. Because you do. Now, this is where the step 10 continued in this inventory. You keep seeing the same mistake over and over and over in your life, in your past. Somehow you get into an AA meeting, like I said. I don't know how you got there or whatever. That's just, but you're there now and you're listening, and you're still drinking because you think that's helping or whatever. And they don't condemn you for that. They don't reject you for that. They don't. It's like, wow, they're accepting me because they know that's the nature of puppies. That's what an alcoholic does. I mean, look at us. There's 4 of us in here. There's 40 of us in this room. And we've all said the same thing at one point or another. It just keeps, that mistake keeps coming up, and it was just a direct link to alcohol in some manner, fashion, whatever. And then we did it again and again and again. And all 40, and then you go halfway across the country, all the way across the country. Go to another AA meeting and you hear your story again. Just, wow, how familiar is this mistake, and you finally start to do this step 1, 2, and 3. Maybe I'm an alcoholic. Maybe this is unmanageable. Maybe a powder could change me. Maybe I'm I can turn my life and will over to this, and then we do the step 4 inventory, and we come up with some things, and it's like, oh, out of 4 things, dishonesty, pride, anger, whatever those 4 that I highlighted the other day, I have to hit the book again, slow us down a tad bit. Wrong book. Need the little red book. In this 4th step inventory, this thing, we go all around the country, AA, alcoholics in recovery, just keep saying the same mistake, but they're over it now. They somehow are getting better results you desire, and you accept their belief in. And typically, when you get down here in the 4th step, you see that at the end of step 8 and 9, there's this thing that I wrote in here that selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear keep coming up. This is when you travel the country, the world even. I've done both, and you go to AA meetings, and you just hear the same thing from people in recovery. Or, yes, just you hear the same thing from people. Fear, resentment, dishonesty, and selfishness. That's a threat to your sobriety. That's a threat to your do-gooder attitude in the world at large, or whatever. Not necessarily my point. My point is that you keep hearing that all these people keep making the same mistake, and then they figure a way around it. They don't make that mistake any longer. How did they do it? What did they do? And you want to try and get that to work in your own life. Step 10, you just start listening to this stuff. You continued to take a daily inventory, and there's that fear again. There's that resentment, there's that dishonesty, there's that selfishness. You keep seeing it over and over, so you endeavor a change in your life. You try to not be so selfish, maybe. Just one thing. What's this book, 24 hours a day? One day at a time. It's like, maybe I'll just try and wonder, maybe I could, I'm not necessarily going to do it, but I wonder what if I just tried to not be so selfish today. If anything would change, and you keep doing that through persistence. And you see that maybe you find unselfish people, and you look at the results, they're getting better than the ones you're getting, and then you decide, you know what, I am actually going to try now. Step 3. Made a decision that I'm going to try and do better, or whatever. What's the book say? Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Why? Because step 4, we made the searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. You didn't like the results. You did all this stuff in step 4, 5, 6, 7. Step 9, you made these direct... It's just... not going to be able to finish this today, man, because I'll just get off on all these different points. You decided to accept humility, basically, and you turned down the pride a bit. You had a different change of mind here that accepted something, let's say. Did I ever finish the reading today? With Ted and the damn puppies that keep peeing on the floor. But he couldn't get angry because that's the nature of puppies. Just like humans, just like alcoholics more specifically. And then all the mistakes they keep making kind of boil down in today's thinking of this. It's fear, resentment, selfishness, dishonesty. Let's maybe just pick one of those and try and fix that today. Let's not be as dishonest. I used to tell 10 lies in a day easy. Let's just try and tone that down to 8 lies today or something like this, man. 24 hours a day, one day at a time, just step by step, little tiny bit at a time, and see if it's pointing in the better direction. Where are we at? 19 minutes. The concept of God was one that I struggled with during my early years of sobriety. How you understand God. Step 3. Came to believe I'm going to turn everything over to this God I don't understand. Well, how do you understand Him? Okay, scratch that and look at the people in the room at AA that are getting the results, or wherever they're at, your sewing circle, your book club, your church, your whatever, they're getting some results that look good to you. You wish to partake in that. How do they do it? And what this book is telling us, because our pride is a little bit out of the way, and we humbly read this and accept that maybe making a decision to turn our will and lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. So you see all this crap lining up just like your crap, and you wonder how you might change that, and then through these dishonesty, selfishness, fear, and that other big one, resentment, show up, and you keep hearing evidence of that. These people did something that got their results in a different way, and you want the same results. This thing's going to shut me off again. See, I think maybe I'm just going to have to tank this and say living in pride is bad, wrong. Get some humility. How do you do that? Listen to parts 1, 2, and 3 now. Uncle, I give up. Thank you, and good luck with this. Goodbye. It'll all get better. You just keep going to meetings and stay away from the booze. Goodbye. Good luck. And keep up the hard work.